Hello, Central New York, and hello, hockey fans all across the internet, and welcome to the Central New York Hockey Report podcast, right here on the Studio 25 Podcast Network. I'm your host, Scott Kinville, and you know what? We're live, which is something we haven't done in a long time. Feels kind of good, just like that freight train going down the tracks. You just hope it makes the turn.
Hope it all works.
We will find out for sure. But anyways, we have got a huge weekend of hockey coming here to Central New York as the men's Division III tournament, the Frozen Four, is coming to the Nexus Center in Utica. Wasn't quite expected, but hey, you know what? Fans here in Central New York will take it, and we're going to talk about that. But first, before I bring our guests in, I want to bring in my sidekick, my partner in crime, my cohort, if you will, Mr. Dave the Save Warner.
How you doing?
You ready for this live stuff?
I do. I like it.
You're all set over there?
I'm all set. I'm ready.
Okay, just want to make
Chris
sure.
is ready. I see Chris. He's, baby blue there. He's ready.
He's got his new overhead camera. Look at that. It's almost like a drone shot.
Yeah. Hey.
It's a good thing we put you on that because you got hair.
Oops, I pushed the wrong button on that one.
Live. We're live.
I went block.
We're live.
Pushed the wrong button.
Yeah. All right. And to help us discuss and preview this big Frozen Four this weekend, we brought in the heavy hitters, if you will. Of course, D3 Hockey News is the ultimate source for Division III hockey. And you know what? We just happen to have the two big ones from that website. Of course, we have got the founder, who I like to refer to as the Google of Division III hockey, Mr. Chris Sugar. How are you?
Happy to be here. Happy the other Scott gets to be here as well. It's fun. So
here we are. That's right, because now we're going to be a little confused here because we do have two Scotts, because joining us via satellite, of course, is Scott Houston, who has done a tremendous amount of awesome articles for that website. Scott, thanks for taking the time to come on and join us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited to chat.
Yeah, so I understand you're a big Gustavus fan.
Yeah, I would say so. Graduated a few years back. Kind of got indoctrinated into Division III hockey and how passionate everybody is, and I've just loved it ever since. So,
and you can't go wrong with that at all. All right, guys. So let's get into this because, like I said, the eyes of the Division III hockey world will be on Utica this weekend. Starting Friday night with the semifinals, of course, you got two games. You've got Hobart and you've got Geneseo. And then the following that is you got Curry and Utica. So you know what? Let's do things in reverse order. Let's talk about the Curry Utica game first. So I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to let you run with this. Chris, I'm going to go to you. The Curry Colonels, number 2, they're on a roll. They've won 17 in a row. What makes this team so darn good?
Well, look, Scott, I'm sure will give a great breakdown as he has for every preview, and he's got them probably off the top of his head is, what he said in his graphics and whatnot. But no, Curry, their goalie, they have arguably the best goalie in D3. It's hard to say Damone Beaver's not. If you go straight off of this year, I'd say Shane is probably better. Based off of this year alone. But if you go with the historical numbers and what Beaver's done, obviously, he would still be the best, 2-time national champion. So it'll be a battle of the defense. I think if Curry can keep Hobart, not maybe 3 or less or around that number, they could send it to OT. I think if Hobart, piles in goals, I don't see Curry getting a ton of them past Beaver. So it should just be a defensive game. Both teams, for the most part, their offenses aren't really, you can't really bat an eye at them either. It's not like they're the top rated, but they're very high. So it's one of those where I wouldn't be shocked if you see another thing of OT. And I just realized that we're talking about, Utica and Curry. So
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah, because I got thinking of the last year's 4 OT, which I'm going to discuss now. So that's a great moment there.
I thought we were in the twilight
I've been
zone
at the
for a
office all day. I've had I've had about 20 media pass requests and the ticket requests. So I've got a lot.
I could tell you.
Whatever the case may be, I'm just going to defer to Scott Houston. I'll add my thoughts after because I just gave you my thoughts on Curry, so we can you can describe Utica for me, Scott.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say that word because we're live. Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Curry, it's all about defense and goaltending. I mean, don't underestimate their offense at all. They definitely can keep up with teams if they need to, but they haven't shown that they really need to. They've gotten a lot of teams kind of playing their style. I know one of their 3 losses they've got, I think they had given up 8, which just seemed like an anomaly. So I don't know if people were sick or it just seemed way out of the blue. But when they keep it, like Chris said, opponents 2 or under, they've got a really good shot with a goaltender that good. They're physical for sure, but they're well coached. They know how to stay in front of the opponent without really crossing the line.
Yeah, and I tell you guys, I was talking with Coach Heenan from Utica on Sunday, and he had mentioned one of the challenges for his team is going to be beating goalie Shane Soderwall, who we see as his stats right there. He's 24-3-0 this season. He's got a 1.45 goals against average and a 945 save percentage. Not too shabby at all. So, I mean, that's certainly going to be a challenge for the Pioneers.
Yeah,
it's going to be a bit before I recover from that one. I'm just going to point that out. It's going to be a bit.
Man.
Continue.
So, yeah.
It's like, where was he going with that? He had too much to drink.
You all could have
after the game.
You all could have told me.
Yeah, okay,
you just let me go. I was like a lost child off the beaten path, and you let me go.
Well, I was there. I'm like, wait a minute. I know Utica and Curry are playing. What's he talking about? I don't want to.
You do want to interrupt.
I'm like, what? That's okay, Chris. You know what? It happens to the best of all of us.
That's a first for me. I'll give you that.
Really? But looking at Curry on offense, right there, they're the leaders there. I'm probably going to hammer this name here, but I'm going to try. Elias Lackinson, he's leading in goals and points, and of course George Vanakis is leading in assists. So 25 points leads this team, but they've got I think it's like 4 or 5 different 20-point scorers. So it looks like that it's depth that does it for Curry on offense.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. Like I said, they've played a ton of close games lately, which is a good and a bad thing because most games are close, come playoff time. So they've shown they can master those, but you always wonder, hey, are they going to be, get some bad bounces and it's going to go against them come playoff time, because they have found ways to win a lot of good close games against really good teams. They've beat UNE twice out of 3. Both were 1-goal wins. They beat Endicott 3 out of 4. But they're battle tested for sure, but they're going to have obviously an offense they haven't really seen anything like this weekend.
Yeah, and like you said, Scott, the wins that they got lined up here are pretty impressive. I mean, you got 9 wins. I'm looking at here on your awesome graphic, by the way, and your awesome article on D3 Hockey News. That very impressive. But on the flip side, you've got the Utica Pioneers, who are going to be hosting, even though it's not going to be exactly in their home rink. As most people know, they usually play at the Adirondack Bank Center. However, with an unexpected appearance by the Frozen Four this weekend, honestly, as far as the odd itself goes, which I will always call it the odd. I know it's the Adirondack Bank Center, but for us longtime Valley residents, it's the odd. But anyways, this probably couldn't have been a worse weekend to have the tournament come to town, because you have Utica City FC, which is the indoor soccer team here. They're home Friday night and Sunday afternoon. And then, of course, the Utica Comets, the AHL team, is home Saturday night. So rink availability at the big rink was really limited. So it's going to be over at the Nexus Center, which is new, and it's a very nice facility, but the seating is going to be limited to about 1,600. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic comes Friday night.
All right. I've recovered since, so I'll pick that up. No, really, that took a toll on me. That's
I know you're all rattled now.
I mean, I am. I've never done that. But no, it should be a good weekend. I mean, the Comets, if anything, will get improved attendance. I mean, people are probably going to be looking for something to do, so I assume might be the spot they go to for some Saturday night, if that's what they're want to do for some more hockey, make the trip out of it. But the Nexus will be fun. The site views are very good. I mean, there's not really any interference in terms of the sites. I mean, you'll pack the place, it'll be loud. And I mean, again, is it the odd? No. I mean, obviously you would have sold it out regardless, but I think the Nexus will be, for what we've had in recent past, I mean, I don't like with Endicott. I don't see why the Nexus would ever get like booed on, based on what some of the past sites have been. And no, I think it should be a good weekend of hockey. And the tickets, I believe, sold out. And I think, I saw like somebody said, I think Utica. Yeah, somebody said Utica was like 3 or 4 minutes. I think Curry was probably around not that quick, I don't think, because it was. They might have been in person. Geneseo, I know, was in person, and if you were in Geneseo, you could get a ticket probably 2-3 hours after they opened. So that was probably your best shot. But no, it's not a bad rink at all, and it should be a fun weekend. It'll be a little cramped, but besides that, you're good.
Yeah, and with the Pioneers, of course, this is their second straight Frozen Four appearance. As they went last year, they lost to Hobart in the semifinals. So last season, Scott, the Pioneers were a very young team. Now this year they have another year of experience under their belts. Had some midseason turbulence, had some changes come in, but it worked out for the best for them because Brian Puros was really good in goal for them. Looking at your awesome graphic on D3 Hockey News. They've got some good wins. You got playing Geneseo all these times, I think, is really going to be beneficial for them because they split the regular season series 2-2, and of course they lost in the UCHC championship. But for the longest time, the knock with the Pioneers was, well, the UCHC doesn't exactly strike anybody as a powerhouse conference. But now that you have another national power in there, it really appears to have helped both teams.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of people, there's a lot of bad, I think, that goes along with conference realignment. But for both of these programs, I think it definitely helped them. And, given where those two are at, it gave them a huge, test throughout the regular season and especially towards the end. Because, I mean, as you guys know, the stretch runs conference play always. You don't have as many opportunities to get out of conference to play those tough teams if you don't have them normally. So the fact they had, Geneseo down the stretch a couple of weekends, and then obviously in the UCHC title game, I think that's definitely prepped them, and it's shown so far, earning 2 wins against good teams, especially St. Norbert last weekend. I mean, that's only going to help them this week. And I'm sure the home crowd will, help them a little bit as well too.
Yeah. And actually, I think having to play that first round game really helped this season because it gets you ready for that. Because sometimes, we've seen it in the past. Those first round buys, they're great if you've got nagging injuries or you think you need that extra week to prepare, but it also can throw a team off their rhythm because as we all know, hockey is very much so all about, rhythm and everything else. And so sometimes you can get thrown by that. Looking at this graphic here, of course, the Pioneers can definitely score in bunches. Power play is extremely impressive. You don't want to put this team on the power play, but it looks like Curry could possibly capitalize when they go on the power play. So this could really shape it. I got a feeling with this game, you're either going to see a bunch of goals or you're not going to see many at all. There's not going to be any in between, I don't think.
I've kind of a little thing to add. I mean, the one thing that does concern me with Utica is the start to games. It's not great, or hasn't been. I mean, Fitchburg being the outlier, granted, it was, on paper, I don't think Utica had much to worry about. But regardless, when you're playing Geneseo, it does concern me when your games are as volatile as they've been with Geneseo. You win. I think it was something where they won. It was like 7-4, and then they lost, or they won 7-3. Or Geneseo,
yes.
Whatever the case was, the score was like 7-3 once and 7-4 twice, or something like that.
Right.
Which is kind of concerning because clearly some breakdowns occurred by both teams. But against St. Norbert, you see they go down early. They have a bad turnover early. They go down 1-0. Then they go at one point it was 3-1. And granted, did they come back in St. Norbert, who I argue was, in my opinion, probably arguably my favorite to win it all. I mean, they come back and do it against them, but can you do it against Curry, who's, I think they've only let in, that was probably, it might be Hamilton's stat, but I mean, Curry, it's something with they haven't allowed more than like 2 goals in a bit, or it hasn't been much in the last 10 games. I just don't see Utica, if they get down by like, say 2 or at worst 3, I don't see them coming back at all.
Yeah, because facing the defense of Curry, you definitely, like you said, Chris, you don't want to be down 2. So, Scott, looking at this matchup, what are going to be the keys for Curry to pick up a win?
Stay out of the box. Easier said than done sometimes against a team that fast. And Chris and I had talked about this before, but like Utica really threw St. Norbert off their game last week once they got physical. So if I'm sure even if they're tied or they're down at some point, they're going to try to get Curry to, fight back a little bit and really try to get them off their game. So I think Curry's going to have to, stay in their zone and not overcommit necessarily, not cross that line because, as you said, the power play is so dangerous for Utica. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer to say special teams, but I would lean that way.
Yeah, and both teams are teams that can roll 4 lines. That's pretty obvious by looking at the stat sheet. So, Chris, if you're Utica, what do you got to do to win this game?
Well, I will say I did just check it. In the last 10 games, Curry's allowed more than 2 goals once, and it was 3. So it's right around that number. I just don't see Utica being able to come back if they do get down by a bigger than normal margin, and that kind of leads into the whole. What I think they need to do is just don't start slow. Like they against St. Norbert, they started kind of slow. Each period really, they just kind of started slow and held in there, and then they turned it on the second half of each period and the third. If they could play every game like they did the third period against St. Norbert, I don't see them losing to either team. I don't. Right. They played great hockey, and so no, it's just don't have a slow start and just show up. I don't know how you don't against, in a playoff game at 7 p.m. It's not like you're playing the 1 p.m. again. And
right.
You can still blame the slow starts because against Geneseo, they gave up 4 and 8 minutes and that was a 7 o'clock start. But
you don't want to say best game ever again, do you, Chris?
Oh, well, let me tell you, I said one of them, it's the optics. If you look at it from a purist hockey standpoint, everything that went into that game, it meant more. If you remove all the background, okay, it was a pretty good hockey game. But if you add everything into it, it was one of the best games and best environments. So that's what I'll say. And
didn't want to rub it in.
Well, and for the guy that said I was, referring to, I didn't see game 6 of the Stanley Cup in 2010 or whatever. No, I didn't, because all I knew was the Buffalo Sabres. I was about 9 years old. And they lost, and that was the last time they were ever in the playoffs for me in my life. So that's what I remember from 2010.
You were 9 years old. God, I feel old now.
I don't know. 2001 by the time it would have, 8 or 9.
Oh, man. That's now I feel really old. But anyways, in looking at all this, it's just really the juxtaposition is really interesting because, in Utica, Utica is probably the best offense that Curry is going to face all season, right? At least to this point. And conversely, this is probably the best defense and goaltending that Utica is going to face in Curry. So you got 2 teams that are kind of seeing the best of each other, of course. Naturally, you expect that when you get to this point in the season. But I really think that this game is going to come down to special teams. If you look at those numbers, and I think that's where it's going to be at. If Utica is going to win, they're going to capitalize on the power play. And if Curry's going to take it, obviously they got to shut the Utica power play down, but they got to be able to take advantage of it themselves. So like I said, this is going to be a really, really fun game, I think.
Scott, did you publish something about Scott Houston, something about the penalty numbers of Curry? They were real high.
Yeah, it was higher than I expected, honestly. Especially given, they have a puck a decent bit, but they are, at least coming into the tournament, they were 75th in the country in terms of first being the least amount. They're towards the top in terms of teams taking the most penalty minutes. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're a Utica fan, you probably want that to continue.
Yeah, definitely for sure. If you're definitely for Utica. So, all right. Well, like I said, that one's going to be 7:00 at the Nexus Center on Friday night. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the first game. So we'll be right back.
Visit the Daily Post and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the Mohawk Valley. Our mission is to generate interest in the area and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our podcast, or sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Stop by today at thedailypost.digital. You'll be glad you did.
Okay, and we are back to talk about the second game of the big Frozen Four here on Friday night. So you got the Hobart Statesmen going against the Geneseo Knights. Another really, really interesting game. Basically, it's Western New York matchup. So Western New York comes to Central New York. You gotta love it, right? Dave, if you would, throw that Hobart one. There you go. So there you go. Number one, Hobart. The record says it all, 27-1-1. They're averaging just over 4 goals a game, only giving up 1. You know, you can see the graphic right there. Very good on the power play, very good on the penalty kill. Chris, tell us a little bit about this Hobart Statesman team and why they're so good.
Well, I already did a good job of that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for this season.
For the second half
yeah.
or so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I already, talked about the goaltending. So,
but now that we're not confused as to what you're talking about, let's talk.
Yeah, well, besides the goaltending, as I went into quite fondly, Luca Cuero, I'd say watch out for him. He seems to score at the right time, and he came up against Trine. I believe last year he had scored. I want to say he might have scored the winner in the title game, or if not, it was the one that kind of iced the game. So he had some big goals in that series. So he's one to look out for. They're just a solid team. I mean, they haven't this year. I mean, they've done what they've had to do, and you could say they've had a weak schedule, which statistically they have. But the rest of the teams in that conference allegedly did too, and they didn't win the game. So they've over the past 3 years, I believe it's something like 85 or 82, 5-3, or something like. It's right around there, that number, and they've won 53 straight at home. Granted, they're not at home this weekend, but that record over the past 3 years, regardless of the strength of schedule, I mean, it shows they're capable of beating anybody. And it's just one of those winning mentalities. Like if you get used to not losing, there's probably something to that where you never really give up hope after you're down 2-0 going into third against Trine. You come back, you win. Skidmore, I believe they did that twice this season. I think they won 5-3 both times, and they were down by 2 at one point in the game, and they came back, and they've done it many times in that 3-year period where they're down and they come back. So, Curry, hold on, Geneseo. I still screwing with me. Still screwing me.
It's
Geneseo,
because they both got purple in their colors. So that's
because they played. No, I keep thinking of the 4 overtimes. That's why I'm thinking of it. So Geneseo, we'll see if they can get it done. They haven't. Geneseo, to me, and statistically, they're the best team. They're going to play it all year. So we will see if Geneseo can break the streak and get back to the title game to possibly win their first ever title, just like the other two, Utica and Curry, who haven't made the title game either. So,
all right. So, Scott, what's your thoughts on this? Because, I mean, Hobart's looking for their 3rd straight national championship, like Chris just said. Geneseo is looking for their first one. On paper, of course, Hobart's got the better record, better overall numbers, but I would definitely venture to say that Geneseo's got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I echo a lot of what Chris had said. Their culture, they're not used to losing. And one point I just wanted to make is, I think the parity across Division III has just been so much stronger. Everybody's got a puncher's chance, like you said, it seems like. But it didn't really catch up to Hobart. Like they lost once in overtime and they tied once. So regardless of who you're playing, if you are that dominant across the season, there's something to be said for that. And their numbers, show that. They've really kind of dominated most games they've played. But on Geneseo's side, I mean, like they're very skilled offensively. They're similar to Utica.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, they like to, light the lamp, rack up the goals. They're comfortable winning that style of game, as seen last week at Aurora when they were down 3-0. You come back with the fury and are able to win that game 7-4. That's their style of game. Now, I wouldn't say that's how Hobart wants to play, but I wouldn't necessarily count them out of winning a close, low-scoring game either. I just think what they're building is a program. I had written this in the article, but it feels like Geneseo could be kind of where Hobart was a couple of years ago in terms of they're looking to make that big splash and finally win a title after having some success for a decade or so. But this could be, you got to to be the champs. You got to beat the champs. This could be one of those moments for them.
Yeah. I mean, looking at Geneseo's record, 24-4-1, certainly a very, very good record. And the number that jumps out for me is their goals per game, 4.9, which is actually the most of the 4 participants in this Frozen Four. So, yeah, you certainly can't count Geneseo out for sure. But, Scott, you hit the nail on the head when you say that they remind you a lot of Utica, because they do with me too. Chris had talked about, slow starts and all that. They're both teams that can score in bunches, but then are also susceptible to occasionally giving them up in bunches. So again, this is a very interesting dynamic here, because Chris, you said that Hobart maybe didn't play the strongest schedule this season. Certainly Geneseo is going to be not really much like anything they've seen this season so far. But like Ric Flair once said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! And Geneseo is going to be looking to do their best Ric Flair impression come Friday.
Chris didn't get it. You see,
I don't think he did.
He's straight faced.
He's still upset about the whole first part.
It's still then it's the fact that I then did it again. I mean, yes. I think it's just because Scott's here. I'm in an awe.
He's got an aura.
Never get to see him, so now it's like, oh my god, he's here.
There it is, Scott the Aura Houston. I like it.
I'll take it.
All right, Ben. So for the keys to the game here, for Hobart to win this one, what do they got to do?
Be Hobart. Just do.
You know what? That would make a great T-shirt, wouldn't it?
Be Hobart.
Could you imagine it?
Just do what they've. I mean, it's just do what they've.
I like that.
It's just do what they've done. I don't really. I mean, it clearly hasn't not worked. So I just whatever you're going to do. And they play structured hockey. I mean, it's one of those interesting games where Geneseo plays extremely structured as well, and that's why they got around Aurora. I think. Not easily, obviously, but the goals were able to come in bunches because Aurora, they kind of lacked, they had a lethal offense. They just lacked a lot of structure on the back end, and that's why Geneseo had as many chances as they did. And for those of you who think that the goals getting disallowed weren't, they should have been allowed. Well, the third goal, the goalie was laid on for about 5 seconds, which exposed the entire net, so I think that's pretty reasonable. So no, I think Geneseo, and plus I don't know. I think Geneseo being at Utica, they've already been there. Different rink. I don't know. They've had some success there, and I like Geneseo in the game. I think it's their time to make it.
Their time to shine, huh? All right, Scott. How about you?
Yeah, it seems as simple as that on Hobart's end. Is just let the game come to them. Rely on the goaltending. They roll 4 lines really well too, and they get scoring up and down their lineup. So I think just picking their spots where they can get it past Geneseo and, taking advantage of those. For Geneseo, I don't think they necessarily have to try to make it a track meet or anything like that. Like they're comfortable playing that style. With the teams, they're all so good. You don't want to just say, hey, pray for the bounces or pray for the puck luck. But, when a team's won back-to-back national titles, it's only happened 3 times before that a team's won 3 in a row, and they're going for the 4th instance of that. I think you kind of got to be like, hey, we're in this game. We've got a chance to knock them out. Let's, not try to do anything out of our comfort zone, but, they know they're good. They're battle tested. And like Chris said, they've played, they know the trip, they know the arena, even if it's not the same rink. And I think they can, match them line for line. So.
Yeah, I think for Geneseo, it's got, and I'm going to refer to another obscure '80s movie. Well, not necessarily obscure, but Rocky 3. Remember in the second fight against Clubber when Apollo had him coming out really fast, and he's like, "Rocky, you got to do this in 8 rounds, or you're going to run out of gas." Well, I think this is kind of what Geneseo needs to do, right? They need to come out and they need to attack Hobart right off the bat, and they need to get them on their heels to say, "Hey, you know what? This is who we are, and you haven't seen anything like us yet this year." Tall task, sure it is, no doubt. I mean, Hobart's the model of success for the past 2-3 seasons, but I think that's what Geneseo's going to have to do. And insofar as Hobart, I totally agree with you guys, and I like the shirt idea. Just be Hobart. And Chris, you might be onto some kind of a marketing genius thing there.
Yeah, the alumni.
The D3 Hockey News, be Hobart. What do you think?
Yep, and I just. Yeah, I mean, I just hope anybody who has problems with me, I can know this little about who's playing in the first game, and I still have the biggest account. So that's what does that say?
Oh God!
I can have no idea what's going on, and
it's the best game I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, Scott and Dave, you originally put it on Scott, so
yeah, I did. I didn't realize you were tweeting that, so
I know I took the blame for you, pal.
You did.
This is what friends do. It's all good. But nonetheless, very, very interesting this weekend. I mean, depending on the outcome, you could see Utica facing Geneseo for the 6th time this season, which is unbelievable in itself. You could end up with a Hobart versus Curry. I mean, the possibilities are, of course, you do the math, but regardless, I think that this Frozen Four is really as good as it gets this season. I mean, there's teams that definitely deserve to be there, and I just think it's going to be really fun. I know there are some that are upset that it's not in the West, but I mean, it's because of the way everything fell, that there was no teams left in the West to host. So, here we are in a roundabout way. Utica can thank Geneseo. So, how weird is that?
Selfishly, I told Chris Schultz I'm giving him a hug when I see him on Saturday or Friday. I mean, because he got, obviously apparently I'm the West biased guy, and now I'm East biased because that's how the cycle goes every so often. But when I'm up for re-election again, I'll be West biased again. But no, it's fun. I mean, the teams, it's fun matchups. It's one of those where you've got. Again, you have a Hobart and Geneseo. They haven't really played each other that often, and they're both very good. I mean, Hobart, you have kind of the storyline. Hobart, they haven't played a ton this season. Their last win was their best win of the season, and then Oswego prior to that. You have Geneseo, who it's like new conference, new you, and they're making are back to the Final Four as they did in 2022. And then you've got the game with Utica and Curry. Utica, they finally got that, quarterfinal hump off their back and got a signature win for Coach Heenan that nobody could take away from him, because unfortunately, even if, Gustavus did beat St. Norbert and then Utica beat Gustavus, there's always going to be the storyline. Oh, well, you beat like the 10 seed,
right,
or whatever, or the 12 seed. You didn't beat. So, regardless of how good Gustavus was or not, it's just the name isn't St. Norbert. So now you get that out of your way. It's like, it's just a fun matchup. And then potentially you have either let's say it's Utica Geneseo in the final. Okay, well, that'll be nuts just because of everything those two have. Or you could have something like, say it's Curry and Utica. I mean, Curry and who am I?
I know. Curry and either Hobart or Geneseo.
Curry and Hobart. You have 4 overtimes. You can have a rematch of that. I am like, this is.
Scott, get ready to take over.
And I got to be at the audit. I got to be at the audit 8 a.m. on Friday, Chris, and I'll be there till God knows when. And yes, it is the odd because I'll be with Coach Heenan interviewing him. It's not the next that I'll be starting.
Yeah. But Chris, earlier when you said, people find something to do on a Saturday night, we didn't nail you on that one either.
Oh.
When's the game? In the afternoon?
Friday.
No, he's talking about the Comets game.
Oh, the Comets game. I was like, what are you talking about? They're not.
I said the Comets game. There's something else to do. And then you can go see some indoor soccer if you couldn't get a ticket to one of the games. Perfect.
Yeah.
Scott, I got to tell you,
gymnastics are gone.
Usually the show goes off the rails in the first 10 minutes. So we're par for the course here. So
this is say I'm not the common denominator, am I?
No. This is
Yeah.
quite normal, actually.
Okay.
Well,
good.
no, the
Keeps
problem
it-
is,
Well,
keeps it loose.
this isn't normal. I can tell you that. Those slip ups are not normal. Oh my!
Well, we'll give you time to rest over it. That's Scott. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, just really deserving teams all around, and as someone that's from the West, I'd rather it be this way, like make the bracket fair from the front end and let it be decided on the ice. And it was, I'm super happy either way. And like Chris said, they're just really, really good stories, whether it is a conference matchup again in the championship game, whether it's a attempt at a three-peat, and then 3 schools that haven't won a title game, and Geneseo, I believe, is the only one that's been there of the other 3. I don't think someone's going to play for a national title for the first time, whether it is Curry or Utica. So that's a super intriguing storyline too. And there's the rematch potential too in a lot of different games. So super excited. And I mean, the styles are similar but different, and I just think it's going to be really entertaining hockey. What do you guys think the crowd's going to be for the Hobart Geneseo game? Do you feel like that's going to be 50-50-ish?
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to be with the allotment. I mean, you're going to get Utica fans probably picked up most of what there was for the general because I think they got early. But no, with the allotment, I mean, it'll probably be pretty even because both teams sold out their allotment, so you're going to get at least 5. It's going to be 533 per, and then it's whoever gets what. And I know. I would assume it's pretty even. I mean, it's not, especially in a place like that. I mean, it's 533 for each team. It's going to feel like 50-50. You're not going to be like, oh my God, there's way more of, this or that in the building.
Yeah. And I can tell you it's going to be loud because again, there's, a lot less space over there as far as space for fans, but it's going to be awesome all the same. It's just something that's so exciting and looking so forward to it. But yeah, I mean, and Chris, I understand there's going to be a film crew.
Well, I mean, I hope at this rate, I don't know if I'm going to be able to interview 4 coaches in 2.5 hours, but 3 hours.
Do you want me to bring extra cameras, Chris?
I mean, I'm not going to. Well, I mean, good thing John's doing all the work and I just coordinate it, and I'll be sitting in front of him asking him questions because this has been brutal. No, we are. It's going to be. We have the schedule right now. We have. Coach Heenan actually made it he made it work for us because he's going to be there at 8 a.m. So we've got him at 8:30. Well, we'll actually be doing it from their home locker room. So it'll be kind of a cool backdrop. Then we have Geneseo at 9:30 or 9:35, one of the two. And we have Hobart at 10:15 shortly after. And then we have Curry at 11:15. It's a good thing I remembered that. So we have that lineup all set. And I would like to mention as well that I'll be at the men's, but Scott's also going to be at River Falls for the women's. He'll get to do that, which should be fun for him as well.
And Scott, I'm assuming you're going to be having that on your coverage on your socials, right?
Yep, I got a login. Yeah, I'm super, super excited to kind of, get a chance up front and close to cover that. I mean, 4 really good teams on that side as well, with plenty of storylines there too. And it's a super awesome facility. I went to the championship game last year, and they do everything to the 100th percentile there. So I expect no less this year.
All right, where are we going to find your coverage on social media?
Yeah, just same as usual. DIII Hockey News. Same
okay.
thing.
So you're okay. I thought you were going to be on your own separate. My bad.
He's got the login. I said post whatever.
Right. My bad. All right. Well, see, even I screwed up too. So we all feel better now.
You didn't screw up the game like the Final Four teams. I mean, like, what the hell? I'm trying to figure out just what got me. I don't.
It's okay.
I like the color theory. It's a lot of orange. There's the purple.
A lot of purple in there.
Navy blue. 2 teams use navy blue.
Yeah,
it's gonna look great though.
I think it will. Yeah. I think it will, especially with the lighting over there in the Nexus. It's gonna look really awesome. I think.
What might have really screwed me up was when I think I had originally tweeted like the wrong time. It was off by an hour. And then I got like thinking about it and I was flustered from that with the Final Four. And then I just, for whatever reason, I had stuck in my mind I think because I wanted it so bad, like I wanted a Curry Hobart and a Utica Geneseo so badly that's why I was thinking about it. Because you know, you've got the rematch, the 4 OTs, you've got the two rivals, and that had to have been at play, because it's kind of one of those, like, I'm really thinking this into existence, if you want to put it that way.
Wish it wanted to do it, I guess, right?
I've thought it so much that it actually occurred, you know, verbally. So yeah,
it's the power of positive thinking, brother. That's all it is. So
well, I got some more wishes if it'll work.
Yeah, well, I think you're gonna need another genie lamp is what I think you're gonna need. But anyways, guys, thank you for coming on. This was so much fun. And again, looking forward to this Frozen Four weekend. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you're following D3 Hockey News on social media for all your updates, as well as CNY Hockey Report. And again, it's going to be a great weekend. We hope to see you out there, and we will see you next time. Thanks.